And two mothers who know the pain of losing loved ones in the Middle East conflict join me now with their stories. The group Parent Circle brings bereaved families on both sides of the war together. Robbie Damlin and Layla Al-Sheikh are here to tell us more about that. Thank you both for coming on. First of all, I'm so sorry for your loss and that you even have to come on here to talk about something you never should have endured. So I cannot imagine the strength. So I appreciate you just coming in and sharing your stories. And I just want to give a little bit of background here because, Robbie, a Palestinian sniper killed your son, David. There's his photo there in March of 2002. Layla, that same year, your son, Qusay, became ill, and you say Israeli soldiers prevented you from getting to the hospital for hours, more than 5 hours leading to his death. And so, Robbie, why do you think your organization is so important to the healing process of families like yours and like Layla's?
It's not really a therapy organization. We are here to make a difference in the world. What we want is to create a framework for a reconciliation process to be an integral part of any future political peace agreement. Because we've signed all kinds of agreements, haven't we? But the people have never been involved. So that is what we're doing. I know this sounds vaguely naive in the middle of a war, but more important than ever now is the work that we're doing. And because after October the 7th, my reaction was very similar to when my son David was killed, it was the sense that I had to do something to change the world overnight. And so this is my 6th time in the States since then, because we had an enormous amount of people turning to us to ask us to come and give a dialogue meeting to bring some hope. And so what came out of that, because of the polarization here and because everybody's importing our conflict and because everybody is now a major expert on the Middle East, we made an education plan online with Georgetown University, which will be for many of the campuses and for high schools and for churches and synagogues and all the people that have turned to us. It is 3 dialogue meetings, as if you were sitting in a dialogue meeting with Layla and myself. It is with question and answer and a manual that Georgetown University helped us to prepare. We launched it at the Federation of Teachers in Texas, and they endorsed the program as well. And we had, 2 months ago, we were at NYU, where we also did the program. And so it's growing and growing, and universities are asking for it. And actually, Italy and Germany and Great Britain want the program. So this is the sense of doing something. I could sit at home, I'm an ancient person, and do nothing. Or I could take what happened to David and try to prevent other mothers from suffering this pain.
And clearly there's a want for that because you're seeing this program growing. And Layla, you say the organization creates a better world for your children. What has it been like raising kids amid this conflict, and how do you think this organization helps that?
It's really so hard, especially after the 7th of October, because all the people know what's happened in Israel and Gaza, but no one pay attention to what happened in the West Bank, where I live. Because since the 7th of October until today, most of the children couldn't go back to school, and sometimes even my children. And if they have a chance, they could go just for 1 day. The West Bank still under closure until today. That meant all the people who work inside Israel, they lost their jobs, and the economic situation is the lowest point now in the West Bank. We didn't have shelters. Many rockets fell down, even in the West Bank. And the most hardest thing when the settlers now attack the Palestinians daily in their houses, burn their cars, even at street, even a month ago, it was the season of picking olives, and they attacked them in their fields. This is so hard for me, not just for me, for every Palestinian to raise his children in this situation, but because we believe that they deserve a better life, we try to do our best in our organization to spread the message of peace and reconciliation.
And so let's talk about what that looks like, because this latest conflict has dragged on for more than a year. And to Robbie's point, we've seen peace agreements, we've seen deals, we've seen this conflict has gone for many, many years and decades now. So how do you see the hope to not just end this conflict, but to create real long-term peace for your children and their children?
We believe this will end one day, because if we look to the history, many nations have the same conflict and it end one day. We believe this will happen. But at the same time, we can't sit side and just watch. It's our responsibility for ourselves, for our children, for all the people who live in that area, to do something for them, even if it's like a small thing, but they deserve to have it. We tried to make many projects for both sides, for the Israel and Palestinian. We have 2 offices, one in Bethlehem, one in Tel Aviv. We try to do our best to let as much as we can to bring people to be involved in this kind of project, to give them a chance to understand each other, because we have walls of anger and knowing each other, hatred, and we try to put cracks in those walls to make it down and give them a better chance to know each other, because it's not about comparing the pain, or it's not about, say, who's first, who's second, who's right, who's wrong. It's about understanding each other, respecting each other. Yeah, we are a friend from a long, long time, but we sometimes still argue about few things, but we still respect each other. We understand each other, even if Robbie says something I don't like, but I could understand why she said that.
Robbie, I'm out of time, but what's next for the organization? Where do you see this going?
Well, firstly, there's a miracle that happened, because from October the 7th, we have already 80 new members. And I think that's incredible, and that's what gives me hope. When I see a family whose parents were burned to death, who are talking out for peace, I really am filled with some form of knowing that there's a future in this organization, that people who so recently lost, and out of the 700 families, only 3 have left. That's an extraordinary result. And so we travel all over the world and talk, but also the work that we're doing on the ground. When I look at the women's group, we have a very powerful women's group, I see that they have not left. And when you think about the media, if you would see the Palestinian media and the Israeli media, that's like living in a parallel universe. So there has to be a very strong bond of trust between us to be able to listen with empathy, even if we don't agree. And we have continued with the summer camp this year, and NYU have sponsored a visit to Prague of a new group of young ambassadors, Palestinian and Israeli, bereaved kids. All these things are happening, which gives me hope.
It does, and
I
it's a
cannot
lesson.
sit at home and do nothing.
And it's a lesson that goes even far beyond just this conflict in this region, a note we can take in so many other areas. So thank you both so much for the work you're doing and for coming on and sharing your stories with us.
Thank
It's
you.
a real inspiration.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we have much more news ahead. We'll be right back.